I remember in Clark Alley, in the back of the Vigilant Fire Station, I see this motorist come driving down Clark Avenue in the floodwaters, and I thought, what's he doing? Where does he think he's going? And he was going slowly, the car started to float. So he put it in reverse, and much to my surprise, the rear wheels were spinning, and suddenly the car started to slowly back up in the water, and he actually got it back onto the ground where he could drive it away. That was unbelievable. I wouldn't have believed that if I hadn't seen it.
I kept going out, and I seen it up at King and Newberry Street, and I came in and said, there's furniture floating down Newberry Street now.
Ground was completely saturated, so that left only the creek to flood. All I remember is walking around with Sharon and Tom Faust, back and forth. We kept checking to see if we could, if we had to hurry to get back across, because the river was rising and rising and rising and rising.
At the time of the flood, my position in the fire department was deputy chief of the department. I was the second in command, and I was in charge of training and fire prevention activities.
It was a bookstore, all right, but it was called Swingers Life Adults Only Bookstore, peep shows. So it was a dirty bookstore that was on the first floor. It is still there. It is the building that now houses Murphy Denton Hafer Architects, and it has Hotel Cadorus written on the side, which is the historic use of that building. It was a great place to live, and it was a great place to see the creek in a different light, because literally at nighttime, when there was light reflecting off the creek, you could imagine how beautiful it could be.
Tell you how it actually progressed. Early on the morning of June the 22nd, it had started raining on the 21st, but on the early morning, about 5:30 a.m., I and the chief of the department, Bob Little, were standing on the Market Street Bridge, watching the waters rise. And I mean, it was coming up close to the bridge. It was within maybe 2 feet of the bridge, and we thought we were going to have a flood. However, interestingly enough, at that point, it started to recede. And we watched it for a while, and it kept going down. And we were very much relieved. We thought the worst is over. We're not going to have this flood. We all walked back a half block to the Vigilant Fire Station, and about 30 minutes later, somebody came running into the station and said, "It's coming up again." We went back up to the bridge, and sure enough, the water was rising, and it continued to rise, and I knew the end was in sight, because lo and behold, here comes a large rat swimming over along the bridge, and at the Cadorus Hotel, which is right at the corner of Market Street and the creek, there's a balcony along the east side of the building. When this rat swam over and crawled out onto the balcony, we knew we were going to have a flood. And from that point on, the water just continued to flood out over the street, down Market Street, and actually we had to evacuate the Vigilant Fire Company.
Well, we moved here in 1969, my mom and Jim and I. And it was an apartment house. And we lived on the first floor and in the back, and there was people on the second and on the third floor. We got up to go to work, the phone rang, and my sister called to tell us that if we call and don't get no answer, they're evacuating them out, and they're moving them out because the flood water's coming up. And I kept going out and kept looking. Came in and told my mom, yes, the water is coming up. It's coming up King Street.
I remember that the hurricane storm came through, and I think it doubled back. It sort of went up to Harrisburg and liked York so much it came back, because as I recall, there were sort of two bursts of rain. The night that we got evacuated from that building, all night long, as the water kept rising, we kept seeing firemen coming, standing on the bridge, looking at the height of the water, the elevation of the water, and then they'd go away, but it just kept rising and rising and rising. Sometime in the middle of the night, and I don't remember if it was before midnight or after, but it was late like that, the fire department did come and get everybody out of our building and told us we had to leave.
911 called us, go down to the station where you belong. I had my boots, my coat, my helmet, went down. The fire chief told us each van we're going to do, they're going to take you out at these houses.
We did a lot of training, but we never actually trained for a flood because we didn't think that was going to occur. However, we did train in evacuation and rescues, whether it be by ladder or by boat if necessary, which was the case in some instances.
I see the furniture, I see a boat, I see people,